degree.
Yes. Boy, I'm sure glad when people ask yes or no questions.
Okay, so it does.
Because 50% of the time, you're right. No. If you call what we're calling soul, then
that already participates.
that already participates to some degree in mind. That admits of higher and higher degrees. Even a cell, an organism, at some level it looks like it may direct itself towards some goal. Right. Takes care of itself, and may in some sense, if it has some kind of direction, might even have some rudimentary function of mind. Good.
So mind looks to oneness then? It has an idea of oneness such that...
It is a oneness. See?
It is a oneness.
Yeah, this is a oneness.
Oh, I see.
This is
Right,
a
you
oneness.
said that.
Because if you try to consider each one of these by themselves, then it looks like here you have something dead and dumb. Here you'd have something that would be alive, that would have intelligence, but would be dead and wouldn't exist. And if it only had vitality and no intelligence, it would be chaotic and also wouldn't have any existence. These words are chosen because of this basic model. See, this model. Returning to its source, wherever we had it before I erased it. Right? At that moment, returning to its source, is it likely there's some recognition? If there is some recognition, if one recognizes the source of one's existence, if one recognizes in that experience a great deal of joy, enthusiasm, vitality, then you have in one experience these three things. The experience of luminosity, luminosity, radiance, is the same as this. One recognizes a higher sense of reality or being in that experience, in the transfiguration experience. One recognizes it's part and parcel of mind. One recognizes that it is alive, fully alive in the highest sense. Therefore, it's one experience within which you can you can make these distinctions, but they don't exist apart in reality. Like you can't go in there and tie another one up with bows and send it to a colleague. But by allowing these distinctions to be made in reflection, then you can make more and more distinctions. You can understand it more fully, and that will bring you back to understand relationships, which is the practice of dianoia, which is what Proclus calls true understanding. And now in the same way, when we were doing dreams, you see, dreams come from the mind of the soul, doesn't it? And that helps us, does it not, return to become the way we most want to be? That's what it does. Self-requiring, self-reflections, doesn't it? So, some people do it through dreams, meditations, a large variety of ways. So that was my experiment to see whether I could bring you into this stuff through everyday relations. Thank you. Very pleased to be able to do it. I hope it was clear. The real point then, you see, is that metaphysics is not an arbitrary invention. Its statements and its principles emerge in and through relationships. And then you begin to see it, you can apply it here and here and here. And there's one set of terms which can go. One set of terms. Or as we sometimes say, relations are constant, terms may vary.
I guess that's why I had some difficulty with the relationship of being and soul, is when you were using that the relationship between Manny and Sarah. it seems like Sarah and Manny are independent.
No, it's not a relationship between, of course I don't know what you mean when you say relationship between being and soul.
Be the realm of being, mind and soul.
Yes. In that sense, you're focusing on the idea of being as existence. Mm-hmm.
And that there's something that is in the mind of mind. That is, when activated, then participates in soul. My understanding. I guess I don't want to confuse it. I just thought that when you were talking about the relationship with Manny and Sarah, it seemed like those were two independent relationships rather than, and it looks like there's a dependent relationship between mind and soul. That the soul depends on mind. And I guess that's where I was getting confused.
Well, I don't see the difficulty you're having then, because mind depends, soul depends upon mind. Mind has a power, that's why it's not reversible. Soul doesn't have a power it gives to mind. Mind has a power it gives to soul. Gives it the power to know.
Right.
Therefore, it is its higher cause.
That's why there was a part here that I didn't understand in terms of Manny and Sarah. That it seemed like there was independence there rather than that kind of dependency of primary to secondary.
What kind of independency are you pointing to?
Well, I thought you mentioned that when Sarah turned and that she also has an idea in her mind, which I thought came from her, of which then she would turn.
But in order to receive these advances, she has to be able to receive that. And that means there is something within her to which there corresponds a basis for a relationship. Good. Thank you.